Welcome back to Let's Play Might and Magic 6. This is episode 26, where we will be clearing out the overworld in Freehaven. We're going to do this at a time-accelerated rate of something like 500%. And of course I'm commentating, not in real time, but recording this afterwards. The first thing we did here was to go to the Water Guild and pick up the Town Portal spell that we'd looked at in the previous episode and not bought. But then what we're going to do is just go edge to edge on the map, killing anything that gets in our way, and finding the locations strewn about this map that we may want to get to later. So the edge of the map there, that goes up to the something Highlands. What was it? There we go, Frozen Highlands, which is a map that we haven't ventured onto yet. I think one of the stables also would have taken us there. So we have bordering maps here that take us to some new and interesting locations. This is why Freehaven is such a good centre for exploration. There's a lot of, it borders a lot of mid-level content. Of course, there's lots of dungeons and things that we've left untouched on the maps that we have been on. It's not like we're clearing these one map at a time. Some of the locations have been inaccessible up till now. We only bought Fly in Freehaven, and we haven't had a chance really to use that to gain access to any new places yet. So, like a Metroidvania, I suppose, there is going to be a fair amount of doubling back to places that we were unable to access previously, or that were just too difficult for us to survive in. Okay, I want to talk a little bit more. I've been doing some more digging on Jon van Caneghem's new business. And I've got some more information to report and a theory on what he may be working on. But let's see. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to mention, and I really should have brought this up before, but so VCME, VC Mobile Entertainment, his new company, they do have a website at vcmobile.net. And they have, I just wanted to point this out, they have this fantastic little cute logo where the letters of the company name are used to make a logo mark that is this just cool little guy with a sword and shield. I think that's really, really cool. I like that logo a lot. It's a lot of fun. Now, there's not that much else on the website. There's Blackshire there, the other edge of the map, the western edge. This time borders a new place called Blackshire, and there's a thing there, the Temple of the Moon. That's the first dungeon that we found on this Freehaven map. So yeah, there's not that much on the website aside from the logo and the company name and the fact that they're hiring and a few other things. They haven't announced a product yet, at least at the time that I'm recording this video. I'm sure they will. And if I'm unlucky, they'll announce it before I've even uploaded the video, but we'll see. Most of my digging on Van Caneghem's new venture seems to be out of date by the time I upload it. Anyway, so what I did find was the SEC filing for the company. And this was actually, I think it was online back in March, actually, which is well before the announcement of the company, which meant that if I, was paying any amount of attention and, was being in any way journalistic about this or competent, I could have potentially been the first to break this small piece of news that Jon van Caneghem had a new games company. But I didn't. I only found it after the press release had gone out. But there's a very interesting thing in there. So we know that that Jon van Caneghem is the chief officer and one of the directors. But also on this Securities and Exchange Commission filing, they have to list other directors, and there's one other, and his name is Daniel Offner, which is not a name I've heard of before. But Google has quite a lot of interesting information on Daniel Offner, who the other director, who is obviously working closely with Van Caneghem on this small company venture. Daniel Offner is a lawyer, specializing for the past few years in, get this, intellectual property rights and licensing for computer games. He's worked with a number of big companies, including Ubisoft, on IP related work. This is kind of interesting. I think maybe, and this is where, so everything I've said so far is known fact. Now we go into the complete conjecture side of things. But I wonder if Daniel Offner's involvement here is because Van Caneghem wants to relicense from Ubisoft, who Offner has worked with before, the rights to a certain intellectual property that he has previously worked on, but now no longer has the rights because New World Computing are the ones who had the rights and they auctioned off all their rights. Maybe this is the case. We're reading quite a bit into this, but I'm gonna go even further as we watch these huge swarms of mages. I think the collective noun for mages is swarm. It just fire lots of ranged spells at us, and us just like returning the odd fireball there. We did come close to dying in making this video, actually, even though it's just like cannon fodder enemies. I think we need more magic resistance. Okay, so let's say that Jon van Caneghem is working on or has secured the rights to work on a game based on a previous New World Computing IP. What would it be? Well, okay. We know that it's a mobile game because it's in the name of the company. They're not developing for PC. They're going to be working on presumably iOS and mobile. So that tells us a little bit about the nature of the game it's likely to be, because mobile games, you know, not always. I mean, you can get Baldur's Gate on tablets now, but for the most part, mobile games are good for playing in short segments, in short sessions. So it's unlikely to be Might and Magic itself, like this kind of game. Probably doesn't fit that well on mobile. You certainly wouldn't want to make it mobile only, I don't think. Heroes is similarly out, I think. Yeah, there's a chest just exploded in our faces, but we got some nice items there, at least for selling. Oh, we got some nice boots. That was it. Some boots of, I assume, speed, because that just flew by without me being able to read the tooltip. Okay, here we go. Here's my wild speculation on what they're working on for iOS and Android. Ooh, plus intellect plus 14 helm there. Very nice. Okay, it's the 12th of July. So I just want to say, you know, if they do end up announcing this, and I happen just by sheer fluke to be accurate, I just, you know, whenever this goes up, that's when I figure this out. It's probably not the case, but let's just go for it anyway. I'm getting it down on the record. I think that Jon van Caneghem is working on making an iOS and Android version of Archimage, the game that was that 3DO bought from a different company, but integrated in as a mini game in Might and Magics 7 and 8. It's a card game, kind of like a simple version of Magic the Gathering. We know this works as a standalone game, because 3DO put it out as a standalone game. It is good enough to do that. There is quite a following for it. In fact, there are clones already. There's one on Android called Archmage, and there's a few expanded or just faithful versions that people have coded over the years as well. It lends itself very well to playing on a mobile device, I think, both in terms of interface and in terms of the sort of length and sort of turn-basedness of a game. It works really well in multiplayer, and I think that it could be a big success. So, that's my theory. Daniel Offner and Jon van Caneghem have secured the rights to Archmage specifically, not the rest of Might and Magic, to make a mobile version of the minigame from Might and Magic's 7 and 8, and we will see it before the end of the year. That doesn't happen, then, you know, no one's watching the videos anyway, so it doesn't matter. But if it does, I'm going to point back to this and say, hey, figured it out. Figured it out from a few very sparse clues and a whole just heap of like intuition and good luck. So we still have anyway a few swarms of mages still to deal with. Enemies on this map kind of annoying because they're all ranged. You've got the mages and there's a lot of archers as well. Among the archers, a few of them are fire archers as well, who hit pretty hard, and the master archers are not so great either. I mean, we managed to take them all out, but quite a few rests were required to take out these huge groups. In total, I may have been talking through the second one, but in total we will find 3 dungeons here on this map. So an absolute ton of stuff on Mire of the Damned there, to the south is our other adjacent map. We'll find 3 dungeons out in the countryside. On top of that, there's also the sewers underneath the town. There are a few entry places for that. I've not been into the sewers. I don't know if it's a dungeon. I'm only assuming that it might be one. It could just be like you know, the UI could be just a store UI for getting rid of stolen goods or something. I don't know. It said it was Thieves Guild. Someone in the town said it was a Thieves Guild. So I don't know that it's a dungeon, but let's, you know, it's either 3 or 4 dungeons on this whole area here. Of course, we're picking up herbs as we find them as well. That's useful for brewing potions and stuff. And hopefully, I think we probably have sufficient now to brew a couple more black potions, which are our permanent stat boost potions. That will be useful to do as soon as we can, because the later we leave it, the more diminishing the return that we get from it. So yes, the dungeons that we've seen so far were the Temple of the Moon out in the northwest corner, in the far center west of the map. There was King Ethric's Tomb, was another one near an obelisk, and here we have the Dragoon's Keep as well. That's the third. Just to yes, because I completely talked through the discovery of the second one and missed it while it happened. I don't think we've been sent into any of these by a quest giver yet. I may be wrong. But I think the next thing we're going to do in the next episode will not be to go into one of these dungeons, because it's nearly August. And what happens in August is the circus visits the Mire of the Damned, which is a bordering map from this one. If we can go to the circus while it is open, and we've wanted to do this for like a dozen episodes, so If we have a chance, we should do it. We can catch up with Prince Nikolai, who tagged along with us and apparently ran off to the circus. We can't get into Castle Ironfist to hand in one of our class promotion quests until Prince Nikolai is back home. Temple of Bar here. Someone in the comments, I think I mentioned in a previous episode, someone in the comments said that I was wrong about getting healed at the Temple of Bar damages our reputation, and that is true. That commenter was correct. Thank you very much for that. Because I just verified it there. Getting healed at the Temple of Bar does not have a negative effect. And we just time portaled back into town. So next episode, we'll go and track down Prince Nikolai in the Mire of the Damned. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.